Okay, so this one also gives us a question-specific condition, right? If L sits immediately next to M, so let's start with that. L is next to M. Then which one of the following is a complete and accurate list of the representatives, any one of whom could also sit immediately next to L? All right, so L next to M, that's going to, so that's going to fulfill rule 2. It's possible that L is also next to N. Doesn't seem to be an issue there. P and N do need to be next to each other. So we may need to keep that in mind. And we can't have O between M and P, right? So we either don't have O next to M or we don't have P next to O, right? O can't be next to both of them. That makes sense. Okay, so L and M is what we're starting with. So here I would probably just go to the answer choices and pick a player, see if it's possible to create an acceptable solution where that player is immediately next to L. So I'm actually going to start with N. 3 of my answer choices include N, so it's going to help me significantly either way if I can eliminate N as an option or if N is an option. So if I have N, L, M, we know that that's okay as far as rule 2. We know that P will be on the other side of N, and we know that K cannot be next to M, so it would have to be next to P, and O is left over. If M and O are next to each other, then O and P cannot be, which is fine. O and K would be next to each other there. So yeah, looks great. Looks like N is an option, so that means I can eliminate A and D from my answer choices. So I'll do that. All right, I'm now down to B, C, and E. K is included in 4 of the answer choices, so I suspect that K is an option. Let's test that out though. So K would be on the other side of L. K and M are next to each other, that's fine. We want to make sure that O is not between M and P, so one way that we can avoid that is actually just putting M and P next to each other. We could have O next to P, then that's fine. Or we have to have N, sorry, on the other side of P, and O can be there. So P and N are next to each other. L and M are next to each other. K and M are not next to each other. And O isn't next to P or M, so rule 4 is also followed here. So that means that K can be one of the players that could potentially sit next to L. So we can then eliminate C, and it's just down to B and E. So B only has K and N, whereas E has K, N, O, and P. So we just have to test to see if either O or P could be included, and then we'll know which answer is correct. So let's test O, and there's no rhyme or reason to me doing that. So now I'm going to so I need to keep K away from M, so K can't be there. So let's go ahead and make that P, put N next to P, and K next to N. So P and N are next to each other, satisfying rule 1. L and M are next to each other, satisfying rule 2. K and M are not next to each other, which satisfies rule 3, and neither M nor P are next to O, so rule 4 is not triggered, and so it's basically satisfied by default because it's not triggered. So that means that it's possible for O to be next to L. Therefore, E must be the correct answer. We don't actually need to test to see whether P is a possibility at that point, because we know that O needs to be included in the list, and B was our only other option. We'd eliminated everything else, and B doesn't include O. So E is the correct answer for question 5.